So this is the Second Amendment as it was written. If you step back, then I could read it at the same time. Okay. All right. So this well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's a little ambiguous legally, I guess. But this is not the first version of the Second Amendment, okay? So the real version of the Second, this is how, if we want to know the origin of the Second Amendment, this is the origin of it. So this is the way James Madison first wrote it. James Madison wrote the Bill of Rights, including the Second Amendment. There were actually 20. They were condensed to 10 when it got through Congress. But this is what Madison first wrote while he was in Congress. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, comma, so it's part of the same clause, a well-armed and well-regulated militia, clearly a militia, clearly an organization of the state, being the best security of a free country, comma. Now, he added this, number 3, but no person religiously scrupulous of bearing arms shall be compelled to render military service in person. Okay. So this is clearly, no, well, I'm going to need you. So what we have here is it clearly, if we're talking about intent, original intent, Madison's intent is that this is a militia, a state militia, or else why have this clause about conscientious objection? Now, when this got to the Senate for a vote or through committee, they lopped off this part. This part came off. They thought it was too cumbersome, too hard to enforce, and they argued that people could use this to get out of the military. So it never made it to the final draft. But if you're an originalist, or if you're Scalia, if you're Thomas, or if you're Justice Roberts, you know what Madison meant when he wrote the Second Amendment, because there it is. Okay, so that's one argument, that it is clearly no right in the Second Amendment for an individual to own a gun. It's not there, never has been. It's only when it got to Scalia in Heller versus Washington. Okay, can we go back to number 1? Am I making sense, or? Yeah. Okay. Have you heard this before? No. A few people. Okay. So we're back to, this is what Scalia ruled on. The one that's in the Constitution now. Here's what Scalia did. How many, I feel like a teacher, but forgive me. How many people know how Scalia worked this out, figured this out? What he did was a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. He called this the prefatory clause. There's no legal term. It's not a grammatical term that I know of. He invented the prefatory clause, and like a kosher butcher cutting off a chicken, he took this part and threw it away and said, the Second Amendment, this is the operative clause. The only clause that matters is this: the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, which just coincidentally happens to be the motto of the NRA. And if you go into the lobby of the NRA, this is in their marble on the walls. So that's what Scalia did to the Second Amendment, and that's what we're living under right now.